And good evening. It is a beautiful spring evening here in the Midwest, and it looks like we're finally shaking ourselves loose from winter's clutches. So this is a good thing. And Marie-Claude Gilbert just joined. How are you this evening, Marie? Um, she is my Arcadian friend from Canada. And minutia, what's the minutia of the day? Well, today is May 2nd, and May 1st is traditionally May Day, which is celebrated all over the world on a multitude of different levels. Beltane, the rites of spring, getting out and decorating a maypole, but also it was celebrated here in the United States back in the turn of the last century, and was part of the effort to get laborers the rights to, a shorter day, 8-hour day, and a multitude of other things. And then that idea spread all around the world. So by the 1960s and 70s, everybody associated International Labor Day with the Communist Party and the movements in Cuba and the Soviet Union, etc. But really, it's as American as apple pie. So anyway, hello Tanya, hello Lisa, and Marguerite. It's nice that all of you are able to join me this evening. We're going to be looking at a couple of things. First off, we'll be opening the book and taking a look at the lesson that you would be on today if you were doing the daily lessons. And there's each lesson is a little nugget unto itself. It is unique, and it is, if you really invest in the process, if you really put your energy into focusing on these ideas and imbibing them, treat it like a feast. That's how I look at the book. I'm big into cooking. I cook for the family. I just finished doing a huge roast with noodles and mushroom gravy and all kinds of wonderful things. And so the Course in Miracles is a banquet. I think we have to approach it from that level of imbibing it, taking it in and letting it nourish us and become a part of us. The food you eat goes into the body and breaks down and supports cellular growth and intestinal function and all of these other processes. Well, Course in Miracles does the same thing, and so each lesson in the workbook is your daily feast. And we've got a good one today because it eliminates a lot of ambiguity. It gets us back to the idea of what is the one central thing that we have to focus on in order to experience our liberation, in order to get away from the traps of this material world. And whether people admit it or not, most people are trapped here. And we have to be lucid about this. We have to be accountable for this. So let's look at today's lesson, which is lesson 122. And it's on page 217 of the original, or not the original, but I think this is, what was this? This was my second edition. Anyway, yeah, this is second edition. I am in fact correct. Is always a high point of my day, being correct, because it happens so rarely, it seems at times. But today's lesson, number 122, is forgiveness offers everything I want. So when we're approaching different spiritual disciplines, when we're approaching different processes to transform or revolutionize our life experience, we have to get down to the very core of what is the most important step that we have to place our feet on firmly. This is the grounding. As Jesus said, if you're trying to build your abode on sands, they're constantly in motion, they're constantly in movement. And so the sands of time are not going to give you the stability that you're looking for. You have to find a rock somewhere along the beach and use that as the foundation. And so forgiveness is the foundation that we build on as we work with A Course in Miracles. That is the first and most important step. And it says, what could you want forgiveness cannot give? Do you want peace? Forgiveness offers it. Do you want happiness, a quiet mind, a certainty of purpose, and a sense of worth and beauty that transcends the world? Do you want a quietness that cannot be disturbed, a gentleness that can never be hurt, a deep, abiding comfort, and a rest so perfect it can never be upset? And this definitely is very much aligned with my experiences, validating my experiences. The more I practice forgiveness, the easier it is for me to step into a sense of tranquility. The easier it is for me to come to a peaceful place in my daily activities, in my daily routine. You know, a lot of times we get up in the morning, we take off and grab our coffee, and we're on a run all day long. And we never really get ourselves a foundation to operate on during the day. So looking at the Course daily lessons early in the day, as you're sipping your coffee and as you're enjoying, you know, watching the sunrise and listening to the birds outside your window, this gives you an anchorage that will serve you well during the rest of the day. And one of the things that you can come back to periodically when you have that head-on collision with your boss, or when you're at the grocery store and somebody bangs into you and grabs something right out from underneath your grasp. All of these different little encounters we have during the day that are a source of vexation, a source of frustration, a source of resistance and discomfort. Those things interrupt our peace. And the lessons are designed to help us stay in a peaceful state throughout the day. And of course, forgiveness is the foundation for all of this. Every time somebody does something that your ego feels like is a personal attack, you have to look at that through the eyes of forgiveness. And, that may seem hard because you're so immersed in the ego's agenda. You're almost listening to this little brain chatter about this guy's an idiot and that guy's a jerk and yada, yada, yada. But we have a life of luxury. I mean, really, 99% of the people that are watching this video have a comfortable home. They have a decent diet. They have money that they need to get through the day's activities. You can go to places all over the world where there is such abject poverty and such extreme distress. And those people are always looking for some relief, some kind of relief. Think of how wonderfully blessed your existence is. And don't take that for granted. Forgiveness is something that the ego has a real problem with and will resist. Every time somebody crosses your path and does something that the ego imagines is an insult or an assault, in fact, is a brilliant opportunity for you to release the world from all of its grievances and from all of its discord and from all of its unhappiness. And that's a significant project. That's really what we're here for, is to not only step out of the madness for ourselves, but to assist the world in attaining a release from the madness that we tend to be stuck with. So it's very important to, like I said, start off the day with a good diet. Imbibe your lesson from the Course in Miracles. Allow it to sustain you throughout the day, and you'll find that you'll have wondrous experiences. Going on to the next paragraph, it says, all this forgiveness offers you and more. It sparkles on your eyes as you awake and gives you joy with which to meet the day. And that's what I just said. How about that? It soothes your forehead while you sleep and rests upon your eyelids so that you see no dreams of fear and evil, malice and attack. And that's a very important point here that I will make. I had a discussion with a client friend a couple of days ago, and I brought up the subject of dreams and asked, are you having bad dreams, unpleasant dreams, that sort of thing? And that was, in fact, the condition. This person was having a rough ride, and it was continuing into the sleep cycle. So it's not just a matter of having difficulties with the day, but then you get chased by all of these different things into the night. Pardon me here while I close the door. My daughter-in-law just came home, and so she wants to listen to or watch her television. So anyway, I explained to my friend that before you actually doze off, if you consecrate your sleep by turning yourself over, I'm going to turn over my mind and my person, my being, my body, my spirit, to the Holy Spirit, and let it guard, guide, and direct my activities during the sleep cycle. And magically, you will begin to see those night terrors, the horrible dreams, start to disappear. And it's a very easy process. It works, I guarantee you that. For me, it was not scary dreams, but 25 years ago, before I really began to immerse myself in the Course, I would have the experience of waking up in the morning and being almost paralyzed, having a difficult time getting out of bed in the morning for fear. And it wasn't even a defined fear. It wasn't a fear of this or a fear of that. It was just a blanket state of fear. And that was what was greeting me every morning. Well, I came across that idea in the Course about turning my sleep cycle over to the Holy Spirit and asking Jesus to travel through space and time with me, to keep an eye on me. And it was dramatic, transformative, and uplifting, because that morning fear just was like the morning dew. It would, I would wake up in the morning, there'd be a tinge of it, and then it would be gone. Now, I probably have not had any of those experiences for over 20 years, 22 years probably. So the practicality of the Course is very, very important. It is not sliding through with a half-baked philosophy. All of these things, if you follow the agenda, will give you results. And imagine having a day where, every once in a while something happens and it really pisses you off and you get very frustrated and very angry and, you start to lose your mind. But then all of a sudden a thought from the Course comes through. And one of the most powerful of those thoughts is forgive, forgive, forgive. Step back. Forgiveness is what will allow me to move forward in a state of peace, in a state of harmony, and in a state of fulfillment, because I will accomplish what I have set out to accomplish. I won't be distracted. I won't be set off on a different path and forget what the point was that I was trying to obtain. So it's a very practical process. It goes on to say, forgiveness lets the veil be lifted up that hides the face of Christ from those who look with unforgiving eyes upon the world. So, this is something that really you can read that sentence very rapidly and not really get the intention behind it. And that's a tragic experience for you, because everybody that you encounter, every individual that you look upon with unforgiving eyes, with an unforgiving heart, you have just blotted out the presence of the Christ. You have just obscured that possibility of your seeing God's perfect child, that continence of peace and joy and harmony. So as soon as we start surrendering to the act of forgiveness and having the expectation of seeing beyond this physical appearance and begin to look at the Christ within, the spiritual being behind that ego facade, all of a sudden we draw those people up. And it may not be apparent right in the moment, but over the course of the rest of the day or the rest of the week, you will have contributed to them having a little bit lighter load and being a little bit less aggressive, being a little bit less nasty. So it's very, very important that you realize the benefits for you and for everybody else. We can save the world. We can heal the world. And that's the intention of the Course. So what we have to do is be very, very grounded in all of our daily activities and turn everything over to the Holy Spirit. Turn everything over to the Christ within you. Ask Jesus to hang out with you. You know, if you want to go play basketball down at the end of the block, imagine Jesus as being one of the participants. You know, and then all of a sudden you're recognizing the presence of Jesus in all of the people that you're playing basketball with. That's the marvel of the way this process works. I know on a couple of occasions I've been in an environment, social environment, and I would look across the room and my eyes would settle on somebody I knew, but I would see them from an entirely different angle. And all of a sudden I would see the presence of Jesus in that. And that, you know, lingers when you have that experience. It's something that you carry with you throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the month. So think of all these magical experiences that you, in fact, can avail yourself of simply by that one act of forgiveness every time something shows up that your ego reacts to. So the ego is like a dog that is rabid. It attacks everything. It attacks everyone. You know, you may think, oh, well, that's not true for Belinda, my one true love. And then, you know, a day and a half later, the two of you have the meltdown of the century. So you have to be honest about how it works. You can't tame the ego in the sense of having a trustworthy companion. You have to remove its fangs. You have to get rid of its rabies. You have to make it docile, because that's the only way that you can survive with your ego. And your ego is a necessary component to moving through this world. If you work on taming the ego, turning it into this docile process, then you can move through space and time and have rewarding, healing, transcendent experiences all day long. But if you're letting your ego go after, you know, everybody that shows up on your radar screen, then you're going to have a lot of trials and tribulations. It's going to be testy and frustrating for you. Skipping forward here a little bit, it says, it lets you recognize the Son of God and clears your memory of all dead thoughts on that remembrance of your Father. Now, the dead thoughts, you know, those are thoughts of your body. When you're embracing your body, what's your body going to do? It's going to croak at some time, you know. So what we're looking to do here is to witness the Christ, the Spirit of God within man, in every encounter we have. And we're going to start withdrawing ourselves from this idea of death. And that really is, every time you're placing this fixed idea on a person of, oh, look at this guy's body, look at this woman's body. Wow, what curves, what seduction, what yada, yada, yada. Well, that's all going to dissolve over a period of time. So you're basically putting them in a tomb by honoring their body and failing to see the Christ within. Now, you can see the body as an artistic expression of their consciousness. You can appreciate it on that level, but don't misidentify people with their physicality. You want to always go beyond that and identify people with the Christ, and that is their true self. That is their true presence that they have brought into this world. So, you know, we're not talking about trivialities here. The work we're doing, what we're engaged in, is very, very profound. It's very, very deep. And it's taking us to regions of our own consciousness where we're able to recognize the Christ within us, our true self, by being able to witness it in those around us. And trust me, you're never going to see the Christ in yourself if you cannot relax enough to witness it in those around you. This is simply the way it works. It's not, you know, it's not rocket science. It's very fundamental. That's the way that the spiritual universe operates, you know. And until you can forgive others, you can't receive forgiveness. You may think that you're, oh, I'm forgiven. Jesus, you know, did this for me and did that for me. But you have put a veil between you and God by not being willing to extend that grace of forgiveness to everybody you encounter. So without forgiveness, you're stuck. You're high and dry. And you have to be honest with yourself about these things. It's not like God created something that is a burden. You know, you're not being crucified. You're not dragging the cross up Golgotha and having to endure having the nails driven through your hands and feet. God has not caused you to endure that. If you crucify yourself, that's your problem. That's something you've got to work out on some personal level. But the truth is, most of us have an amazingly blessed existence, and we can amp that up. We can optimize our time here on Earth, in the universe, by practicing radical forgiveness and drawing everybody up along with us. You know, it's like moving through the universe at an accelerated speed. You're like in Star Trek, you know, you're on the Enterprise and you're going at warp 9. And as you're speeding across these galaxies, you're creating a wake, and you're creating this undertow that is pulling everybody with you. And so you're practicing a service to yourself and to everyone around you and to everyone on the planet. You know, and again, we minimize ourselves. If you can't see the guy in China get that jolt of your act of forgiveness, then you have a tendency to diminish the power of what you're doing. The truth is, everybody on the planet, on a very subtle level, experiences that lift every time you forgive. So it is so powerful and so important, and it is such a process of determination. You know, this is not difficult. The ego will resist. The ego will raise hell with you. But the truth is, these powerful forces that you set into motion makes you like Moses standing at the bank of the Red Sea, parting the waters. I mean, you really are becoming a master of space and time through these very simple processes. And that is what is so exciting. So never undervalue what your contribution is. don't get wound up in your ego and go off on an adventure where you're proclaiming yourself to be, the potentate of all potentates, because that simply isn't true, and that's just your ego having an orgasm. But when we approach it from the level of humility, and remember what Jesus said, I, yet not I, but the Father within, doeth the works. See, and that's the way it works. You're manifesting God. You're bringing God forth every time you honor this process of forgiveness and release and getting out of that state of condemnation. So it's very, very simple. It's very, very easy, but you have to be very on point. You have to look at your ego and be prepared to slap it upside the head 10 times an hour or 10 times a minute sometimes to get it to be compliant, to bring it down to a level where it is no longer attacking you and attacking those around you. And that's where the healing begins. That's where the healing comes from. So let's finish this up here real fast. It says, why would you seek an answer other than the answer that will answer everything? See, and that's how universal forgiveness is. It is going to fix everything. Here is the perfect answer given to imperfect questions, meaningless requests, half-hearted willingness to hear, and less than halfway diligence and partial trust. So what he's alluding to here is every time, you pull a Janis Joplin, oh Lord, won't you give me a Mercedes Benz, then you are missing the point. You are approaching God asking for drivel, because that Mercedes Benz in 25 years is going to be a wreck if it lasts that long. And you'll be so sick of it that, you will have traded it off after 5 years or 10 years. So we have to be lucid about what it is that we are asking for. And fundamentally, we can take it down to that one simple prayer: Father, reveal thyself to me. As soon as we see through the process of vision, as soon as we see God in ourselves and in those around us, then we have attained something that is worthy of our prayers and our supplications. So, and it's natural and it's normal for people to approach spirituality hoping that they can get a better income or have a better relationship or get over, a round of cancer or whatever it is. And all of these things, God knows that you have need of. So stop putting your attention on all of these silly things that you think are most important in your life. Step back, breathe deeply, and then you will come to the conclusion that the most important thing in your life is, in fact, your relationship with God. Father, reveal thyself to me. And once you have made that connection, once you have reestablished that awareness in your being, then everything else will self-rectify. You don't have to worry about your bank account. You don't have to worry about your body's health. You don't have to worry about, getting laid, the relationships, the needs that we have in this physical realm all come into harmony in proportion to our willingness to embrace God, not only as our Father and our source, but as love itself. And that's really an astonishing image, to embrace love, which is transformative, so that you become love. I can remember back in the 1970s when I was living in Seattle, and I had this one experience of just doing a relaxed meditation and going into the idea of love. And something clicked, and I shifted into a very, very profound and very deep experience of love that was so unlike any other concept of love that I had ever experienced, that it was transformative for me. It completely dissolved all of my beliefs around the idea of what love was. You know, we associate love with a biological response. You know, I'm horny, I need love. Well, sorry, that's not going to get you very far, because you're going to hump one person and then get humped by another person, and it just goes on and on and on. You're playing leapfrog. But the real essence of love is something that dispels any sense of separation from any part of the universe. It unites you with everything. And it humbles you to the point where you can surrender yourself to deeper and more profound levels of experiencing God in all of these different conditions that we are encountering in life. So anyway, it looks like we have consumed about 32 minutes here. I hope that you were given some ideas to ruminate with. I would expect everybody that hangs out with me here will, over the course of this week, if they'll just remember, even on one occasion, if you can do it one time a day for the next 7 days, if you can forgive that person that you just want to take a baseball bat to and turn their head to mush, if you can forgive that dog, you know, that the neighbor has that's barking at 3 in the morning, if you can forgive all these different circumstances, you can just isolate one a day, you're on the road. You will be making progress. And as you begin to practice this more and more and more, it becomes easier and it becomes less of a conditioned response. You do it in a more natural way, and you will reap the rewards. You will see the benefits. But equally importantly, that little guy in China on the other side of the world, he's going to reap the rewards as well. And that ballerina in Russia, she's going to reap the rewards. And that caballero down in Argentina, he's going to reap the rewards. So think of what you're doing. You're doing stuff that is going to have that effect of, like ash falling from the sky, manna from heaven, a source of nourishment, and it comes down gently and lightly, and everybody's covered in it. So think of your forgiveness as this process of, like ash, having burned away the dross, having burned away, you know, the negativity, or I shouldn't even say negativity, but having burned away the fear and the hatred that propels this world. And anyway, a few thoughts on a Wednesday evening. I'll be back in 7 days. I hope you guys have a great week. And it would be nice if, you know, over the course of the week, you have experiences that you find to be noteworthy. Shoot me an email. You know, go to my site, www.themiraclewithin.org, and you can find contact information. You can find all of the different videos, a lot of information on A Course in Miracles, and most importantly, you can reach out if you have something that you'd like to share. So get out there, share the love, pass the love around. It's very, very important, because it's like a circle, and it gets whipped into a frenzy. And the more love you give, the more love you get. It's not hard. This is not rocket science. And I will see you guys in 1 week. Good night.